What is up, guys? Wraec is here with a new video, and today I want to talk about the Aspen Dungeon update. Aspen Dungeon Purgatory 400, we already cleared it, but last time in the video I promised that we are going to focus on this and that there is going to be a little bit of a rant about it because it was a very low quality update. Before we do that though, I kind of have to jump one video back. Last video we were talking about the TOS update and how it sucks and how the age in general has failed in regards to fighting Starry Gem farmers. And there has been some new info that kind of puts the boot a little bit more on the age neck on this one. So I definitely don't want to miss out on that because it's kind of funny and I like it. So we're going to show it to you guys. So what we in fact have here is this screenshot. This is a screenshot of an ad that DH had running around beginning of 2023, and you can see here it is a pretty long ad, 34 seconds here already, around the time where we just got the 2 out of 2 ads on YouTube, which also sucked, by the way. You can see Azrael, he summons it, and now it's an A+ Azrael, and he can sell it for $50. You can make money by awakening heroes. And now you can say, oh, maybe somebody did some Photoshop here or something. Well, might be the case, but actually at that time, there's also a Reddit post for this. And if we check this out, that is another screenshot here. It was posted by ZRS, and we can also see the time. 29th of March 2023. That is when this was posted, and it's in fact a pretty funny screenshot. We see an A-tier wall deck with completely arbitrary stats, which happens if you, well, do the mistake or the error that most of those gacha games make, which is they outsource their ads. And then they have like some ad agency that in general has an idea on how to make a catchy ad, and they get very, very limited information and make something with it. And the way they've shown this is they have like this orange A tier here, some stat that doesn't make sense, and the bidding price is $10. So, and again, they show that you can make money with this game. And the comments were quite funny as well. We see a lot of familiar faces in there, so I don't want to miss out on that if we are already on Reddit. Baldy is here. Also in the ad, the actor mentioned that you can make real world money by selling heroes on the auction house. They aren't wrong per se. Well, it's true. And Ethereal is here, $10 cheap for this copy. It's great and wanted tenant. At that time, most definitely. Most definitely at that time, that would have been an insane copy. Professor Oak is here, 1.555 attack. And then the last one, Gold Secretary, stood a little bit out to me because this comment was 10,000 accounts. And I was like, 10,000 accounts, his name is Gold Secretary. That sounds like a Starry Gem farmer name. I don't know. It sounds like a Starry Gem farmer name. 10,000 accounts. Turns out, if we check out the profile of the guy, and I don't want to stalk him, actually want to say something about that later. If we check this out, that guy's actually Vietnamese. So the age might have been right. I don't know. The age might have been right with the Vietnamese story. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's just funny because he wrote 10,000 Vietnamese. So one thing that I want to say though, guys, really, look at this comment cover. This is like really not even bad stuff he's writing. I have the feeling some of you guys are disliking stuff just because it's not in English. And I mean, like, there was certainly a time where, I mean, you could have said it is not really right if you write it in just Vietnamese and not in English because it's just a more commonly used language. But like, you can now go and just mark anything. You just have to click on the comment, go down, there is this comment. We just mark it, right click and translate selection to English, and bam, right there is the selections. So it's like we are in time where it's a matter of seconds to translate this stuff. So definitely you don't want to let this guy get negative karma just because he doesn't feel comfortable writing in English. So yeah, that's another thing. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to show you guys for this ad because I thought it was pretty funny. Just showing off that they really advertised this. And I mean, it might have been an error with the ad agency, we don't know, but it's still, yeah. They advertised that you can make money selling your copies in game. The only way to really do this, as we know, is either you get money directly for selling this copy or for selling the Starry Gems, the last one being the more likely. So, talking about Aspen Dungeon now. As we don't really have very good footage for this, I kind of just want to react to my old video and talk about it while we watch this. Clearing Purgatory 100 with a fully supplied SFX. Pretty cool, actually. Because that's an older video of mine, and you can see my account. Well, of course, there were some more heroes, but that was just the beginning, or a little bit above the beginning of Tree of Origin. So, very different account state to now. So we're just going to keep this in the back, so that you have a little bit to watch while we're talking about this topic. So what was really the problem with Aspen Dungeon? Well, Aspen Dungeon, we got the extra 100 stages from 300 to 400. And while this, of course, is, well, just like a regular update, there was one thing that I thought was very concerning. There wasn't a singular new stage in there. They reused all the stages they made for 200 to 300, and regularly, if there is a release of new stages, it also incorporates newly released hero between the last patch of the game mode and, well, the current state. So, for example, we would have maybe seen heroes like IHP, and I complained during my clear that there was nothing like this. Heroes like IHP, we saw Betty. Betty was actually one of the last heroes in there, but we didn't see any Alikita, nor any of the base versions of those heroes. And it isn't really a big thing. I mean, it certainly is a little bit more interesting if you fight newer heroes as well, so because you might need to incorporate new strategies. But at the same time, of course, I mean, you might encounter 1, 2, 3 stages of those. And yeah, not really too many, but still would have been a very nice touch to see this. It is a little bit concerning, though, what that means they really did with this. They just took the normal scaling they had for 200 to 300 and continued the shard for the stats for the heroes and for the enemies to go till 400. Then they just copy-pasted the entire thing in game, and done. We had 300 to 400. Adjusted some help text, didn't have to make any new graphics, didn't have to make any new designs, didn't have to think about any new hero stages really, because it is always like when you design an interesting stage, you kind of have to make it interesting. You have to think about, okay, who can face this stage? Is it too difficult? Is it something that maybe can't even be beaten? Because that is possible. And what are the threats from this stage that the player has to take care of? And by the way, just because I see it right now, we always were using Sherlock even at that stage, even at that time when my account was a lot smaller. You can see it there. Even at that time, this was considered whaley. So, yeah. And really, this is like such a low quality approach. It is such a low quality approach. It is already a low quality approach to just say, okay, we make Aspen Dungeon 300 to 400. I hate that, honestly. Like, at some point, you just have to accept that a game mode is done. It is done. And that is this, that we had all the appeal from it, that it was interesting, okay. Aspen Dungeon was an experience, and it is just done. I think nobody really asks for another 100 stages. It's the same as nobody really asks for another Island of Void campaign, and nobody really asks for another Void Vortex. People in general ask for content, and when the Age says, hey, we are going to release another stage of Void Vortex, they say, okay, I guess better than nothing, still not very good. And it kind of brings a lot more problems with it than one might think, because if you want to continue this style of releasing content, if you want to go ahead and say, okay, my thing or my release thing, my content thing is I release new stages of Void Vortex every now and then, I release new stages of Aspen Dungeon every now and then, you kind of have to keep a steady pace at that. If you let there be like a year between releases like we had in Aspen Dungeon right now, the power that players have will out-creep the scaling of the game mode, because you can't really say, okay, we had an average power increase that was way higher than the scaling, so we make a jump to adjust to that power. That really would make it feel weird if players later face this, because then you kind of have to clear it as far as you can. You might get to Purgatory 150 and then progress, so you don't really want to have those spikes in power where a player gets super stuck. This is annoying for players. This is hard or difficult to understand for players. So You really want to keep it at a steady pace. But that means what you saw in the video I made about Purgatory, that my heroes are virtually invincible, and I cleared most of it with the DGN that wasn't equipped for it. I just put it in there because I needed another hero, and I thought, well, it might as well be DGN. It was not like I said, okay, I take a DTV or something with me, something that seriously has some caliber for PvE cleaning. So, and DH really doesn't do that. They just, whenever they feel like they don't have something to show, they just release any addition to any game mode. And this time, even in the most lazy manner possible, the last game mode release in such a manner was like Void Vortex. There they at least did that. There they at least went ahead and said, okay, we are going to put some new heroes in there. We are going to maybe even change up some strategies. Void Vortex, on the other hand, was dead when we got TBB. TBB trivializes anything in Void Vortex because you can roll away difficult stages that she can't clear. And there's always one stage that she can clear. So as long as you have a TBB that is a bit invested into it, and you have like maybe some control position CI offset, maybe some star spawns for it, they can make it as difficult as they want. You will always be able to clear it. They could give the heroes virtually nearly infinite stats, and you will still be able to clear it just because your TBB can CC them every single round. So that is something that is possible. So in that regard, yeah, I don't think Void Vortex will ever be a challenge again. This game mode could be done. I think just saying, okay, Void Vortex is done would be the right way. Same for Aspen Dungeon Release. It's not like it's not a challenge. It's just like, I mean, how many stages do you want to put in there? There are virtually like 1,000 stages in Void Vortex already. If you are there as a new player, you feel like this is never ending. When we have Purgatory, we have 400 stages in Purgatory, and then there is like hell, difficult, normal, easy, I don't know. And I mean, with power creep spiking, you also have more early game power creep. And while it feels like the distance between whales and everybody is progressing, DH does a little bit at least to give you more power in early game. So you are way more powerful if you play 3 months now than a player would have been 2 or 3 years ago if you played 3 months. That is just the case. You have an easier access to heroes, for example. You can just get hero chests that weren't available in the past. This is already a huge power spike. The general power of heroes has, of course, increased. We have better strategies, we have better artifacts. All of that is something you can do. You can go for the Ithic Harp, for example, which will give you an insane power spike and let you clear so much. So in that regard, players are now faced with this problem that they go into the game mode, they reach certain points, for example, getting a deific harp, and that now enables them to clear 400 stages in Aspen Dungeon, which is horrible, which is like really, really horrible, just doesn't work. And this all just plays into this. This is just, this Aspen Dungeon update was just the worst way for DH to show that what they do doesn't work. They just released this game mode, didn't put any effort into it, and with that just demonstrated, okay, we really don't care in a way. At the same time, they kind of do, but they fail at it. So like, while we get those lazy releases for Void Vortex, lazy releases for Realmscape, lazy releases for Aspen Dungeon, and eventually probably another tower release that nobody really likes, nobody really cares about, they released Ethereal Realm. And Ethereal Realm wasn't good. Let's be real about that too. It wasn't good. They said it had so many problems. Honestly, that's another rant. We should probably make a video about this. That is like just another rant, because they failed at so many edges there. Like, the first thing that they really failed at to make it in any form attractive or no purchasing. I remember that. Yeah, that was the thing when they put away the Turkish packs. You could go with VPN to Turkey and get packs for like 40 USD. The 100 USD pack you would get for 40 USD. That was a pretty good time, I have to say. That was pretty good. And so they did an awful job at really telling you why you would want to play this. So you went into this game mode and there was like no loot. So at that point it just didn't work. But in terms of like it being new, it being something that wasn't in the game before, this game mode was honestly pretty good. Like, we got this map, we got to fight heroes there, you had to think of strategies, it had a little bit of depth in there. I mean, at some points you could improve this game mode. I still think Expanse is a little bit weird in the way they designed this. I think many people don't understand the game modes. It has a lot of communication problems, but it is an interesting thing to do so. It fails a little bit. That's the way I probably want to put it. If they improve it, I think it can be good, and they are working towards this. So this is more like a positive example. Even though I hate a lot about Ethereal Realm, it is a positive example for being a new and authentic game mode that is an Idle Heroes game mode. They are releasing a new stage for Fantasy Factory, apparently, which I'm like, okay, I don't really like. I don't really want to play it. At least now that they removed the farming from it, they had in there. Do you remember that? Like when they released the first tower defense game mode type, that was bad. For tower defense, it was bad, but I already made a rant about it, so don't want to do another one. I compared it to Arc Knights, which Arc Knights is just a way better tower defense game. And at that time, you could farm Stella in there, like crazy amount of Stella. Crazy amount of Stella, and we made a rant video about that as well. I didn't even realize how many of those I made, but I like them. So at that time we made a rant video about that, and people had to go for it because you could get millions of Stella in there. And they eventually took that out of the game. I think this new developer team that they had from another game, they basically had a special developer team that didn't do Idle Heroes before. They did another game and they were told, hey, make this tower defense game. Those are your characters. Enjoy. Use those. And I think they just went in there and they had no idea if their loot structure is good. Of course, a bit of corporate failure in there because DH didn't put anybody at their side and to look at it and say, okay, you can do this, but you can't do that. They should have checked that, and they didn't, and was like really stupid. But I think it's nice that we got Ethereal Realm, to get back to the point, as a new game mode in there that has a decent bit of quality, has new characters, has abilities in there. They integrated lifestyle into this, gave it support abilities. Those are like good approaches. And this was the biggest piece of high quality content that we got. I just don't want those lazy things anymore. Like, I mean, I understand that every now and then there has to be content. There has to be content, and I kind of appreciate it because it is a very easy video if they release, for example, Aspen Dungeon. But then on the other hand, there's just no way to continue the game. Just adding 100 stages there and another difficulty layer to Void Vortex, and eventually no new player will want to interact with it because it's like, we have 1,000, so how many stages are there in Aspen Dungeon? Okay, 1,000. How many Void Campaign stages? About 1,000 as well. And then you have 9 islands or something. I don't even know how many islands there are at the moment. And then you go into Void Vortex. Yeah, you just have to beat like the 8 difficulties that are there. And then 160 stages of Realmsgate. And I mean, just the numbers are crazy by now. So I don't really get it at this point. Like, this is just madness to me. So, and at the same time, it's not even interesting for the players that currently play the game. I mean, it might play the same way as normal Aspen Dungeon content for players that reach this naturally, but players that are already beyond that in power, like me, I mean, it's like was no challenge at all to do Purgatory. So most players did it in the first 15 minutes after the update. So yeah, wasn't interesting. I mean, this, like, if you look at the video footage we're watching in the background, you can see me actually checking out the stages, thinking, okay, do I use Fairy Queen Vessel? Do I use SFX here? And SFX being a hero that is in general pretty good for this game mode. We didn't even use heroes that are pretty good for this game mode. HP, for example, is horrible for Aspen Dungeons. Like, the only thing that really saves her is a dodge. That's nice, but doing no damage on turn 1 is like really, really bad in Aspen Dungeons. So SFX was a very good hero for that, and we used heroes suited for the game mode. And the setup that was great for it, tried to get proper speed, and then checked out the stages. Okay, can I beat solo ticks? Can I beat this stage? Is it better to go with Fairy Queen Vessel to just have a little bit more sustain? And this still works here. This was still a place where this worked. Purgatory was in a pretty good spot at the beginning, and then just because of well, I think they just thought they were done with it at like Purgatory 200. And then they decided to do 300, which was bad, and then do the 400 update that was even worse. Because 300 at least, well, include the new heroes. 400, not even that. That is probably going to be a loss for MFF, isn't it? I mean, she has the dodge, but like, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good. So yeah. I mean, that was just my take on it. I can't really say much more. I just hope they improve on it, stop this stuff, and I mean, at least put some effort in there. People were asking in the comments, doesn't it have divine power? No, probably it didn't have divine power. At least it didn't show divine power, and I would assume, no, it does indeed not have divine power. So, yeah, that was like, it should have had, like, Aspen Dungeon at that point should have had divine power. Maybe even put lifestyle stats on those heroes, I don't know. Make it interesting in some way. But no divine power on the heroes, just some regular stat scaling was real slow, real boring. So, I mean, what is the point then of enhancing it if you don't even include the newest power mechanics? So that was the thing. And I mean, I kind of dread every time they do such stuff. For Aspen Dungeon this time it was okay, it was like just a quick video, but if they do it for Void Campaign, I noticed how I myself don't really want to interact with it even more anymore. Like before we even went for the leaderboard, so we just said, okay, let's see who gets place 1, but last time around I didn't even care for that. I had the wrong setup at the moment and didn't want to change it. You kind of have to set up DTV for Void Campaign, and I just didn't want to do it. So if you reach that point, it's kind of a clear indicator to go for it, and just don't release stuff like this anymore. Like, do we need it? Do we need the 9th stage in Void Campaign? Do we need the 500th stage of Purgatory Aspen Dungeon? Do we need Tower difficulty 50? Or would it be more interesting to have like a new game mode and just say, okay, those are the old ones, let's get some new game modes. To be honest, I even found Sealand uninteresting. Like, them just switching the enemies around, not giving them new abilities for the 5th time is just so lazy. I mean, I would say it's okay if you add to it and you say, okay, look at that, we made Sealand 50, and all of those heroes now have different abilities. You can check them out, and they are very interesting, and they are cool, and maybe they do some interesting stuff. And if they put some thought in it, I can say that it's nice, but it's just so lazily made. It's just, we scaled the difficulty up a little bit, you will be able to clear it in 3 months. So that's just all it is, and it is such a lazy thing to do. By the way, if you want to check out the rest of this video, which I definitely recommend, it's one of the more watched videos on my channel, clearing Purgatory 100 with a fully sublimed SFX, but still had something to mean there and was a pretty good thing. Then do so. It's definitely a good video. I kind of like it. I watched it before we started this video, and you can see if I managed to get to Purgatory 100 there or if I fail before. Tell me your opinion about all of this in the comments, mainly about the enhancing of those game modes, like adding more stages to it. Do you still like it? Are you sick of it? What's your take on it? Tell me down in the comments. And with that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.